He owns and operates the Pack-A-Day podcast that airs 365 days a year with over 12 million views on YouTube. A new adventure begins. It's time for the Pack-A-Day radio show with Andy Herman on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and on the free Odyssey app.
From the 8 to the outside, wide open touchdown, Tucker Kraft. Lambeau lead, and it's a 2-possession game again.
Welcome into the Pack-A-Day radio show, live from the 1250 AM, 105.7 FM The Fan studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. No, Tommy Wirtz here with you, not quite Andy Herman. What a victory for the Green Bay Packers yesterday. 2-0 now after the 27-18 victory over the Washington Commanders. Nicolay Law fan talking text line 414-677-1250. If you want to join the program, be a part of the celebration here on a Friday. Green Bay, oh my goodness, yesterday was incredible. I could not believe the Packers made it look that easy. It was 27-18, and it was not even that close. The Packers defense is crazy elite. I don't even know if elite is nice enough to compliment this Packers defense right now. Jordan Love, that's the game Jordan Love's going to have on a week-to-week basis. I'm okay with that. The Green Bay Packers look so complete. They look so deep. They look so much better than both teams they've faced so far this season. And it's not just anyone. It's last year's number 1 seed and last year's loser in the NFC Championship game now with the Washington Commanders. Packers yesterday. What a game, man. I mean, Jordan Love's going to start scrambling, getting first downs now.
On 4th down, here it's 3rd and 9. Chased out. Some room to roam. Going to get the first down. Yes! Bangs into the defender and picks up an extra 5. And the crowd loves it. 1st and goal.
Well, we came into this game thinking that it'd be Jaden Daniels you got to look out for on these kind of situations, but Jordan Love showing you that he's got the ability, to make a defense pay if they play man coverage and they forget to account for him. He gets outside. What I love is the end of this. Instead of getting down, he lowers the shoulder and goes right over Quan Martin, the safety.
I mean, Jordan Love, the legs, what a performance from Jordan Love to scramble and have that ability to extend a play. We didn't see that all last season. He was injured the first week of the year, and his legs were taken away from him. Now, some people probably wishing, hey, he should have slid. Hey, get out of bounds. Well, no, they needed the first down. And Jordan Love putting everything out on the line for his team yesterday. And he had a phenomenal day as well, with a couple other guys having a big impact, including this tight end, Tucker Kraft.
2nd and 6, good protection, pass wide open, making the catch and getting into Washington territory. Tucker Kraft pulls his way down to the 20-yard line. So Kraft gets a first down and then gets a huge play here for 57 yards to the Washington 20.
First career 100-yard game for Tucker Kraft. That might have been the worst kept secret of who was going to be the breakout player, right? A lot of you guys commenting in on who do you think is going to be the breakout player for the Green Bay Packers this season. Tucker Kraft was high on the list. And yesterday we saw it. We finally saw the breakout game from Tucker Kraft. His first career 100-yard game. Jordan Love loves him as a weapon. He spoke after the game as well, Jordan Love, on his expectations for our guy, Tucker Kraft. Here he is after Tucker Kraft had a monster day yesterday, and the big expectations he has for him all season long.
I mean, I'm expecting big things from Tuck this year, but it's just, it's one of those things that's who Tuck is every day. He comes in and puts that work in, and in practice every day he's making those big time plays, and he's very consistent right now. So I don't think it's a secret for him to go out there and ball like he does. First time having 100 yards, which is pretty cool for him. But I mean, he just goes out there and takes the work from practice into the games and is consistent with what he does. So we just got to keep building on with him. But Tuck's a guy that's going to have a big year.
He's going to have a big year. He had a big game. Highlights courtesy Amazon Prime, and of course that audio courtesy of the Packers. Joining us now, Andy Herman, Pack-A-Day Radio, Pack-A-Day Podcast. Good morning, Andy. Tucker Kraft is insane. That's pretty much where we just left off with the conversation there.
He's insane. The Green Bay Packers are insane. They're 2-0. Not even a couple technical issues going to keep us away from talking Green Bay Packers this morning. Appreciate you covering for me those first few minutes, Tommy. What a day for the Green Bay Packers. What a night for the Green Bay Packers. I'm sure you obviously started off 2-0. Some of the main, like you were talking about Tucker Kraft, I know some of the main characters in this one. 5 pass breakups by Keyshawn Nixon, 120-plus yards for Tucker Kraft. Just a solid 8 pressures from Micah Parsons. It's a decent day for him. Just a total team effort. And Tommy, well enough, and we've been doing this long enough. I don't get super, super high or really, really low on anything. Tommy, it's really difficult to temper expectations right now. It is really, really difficult to say, hey, this is just, let's give it some time. Let's marinate it a little bit. We're only on week 2, and let's pump the brakes a little bit. I don't think I can do it.
No,
I mean, I understand. Hey, there's a lot of games left. Nobody's crowning Green Bay as Super Bowl champions right now. But man, they certainly look like a Super Bowl contender. They certainly are playing like Super Bowl contenders, and they're going to have to continue that energy and intensity right now. But Tommy, that defense right now is insane, absurd. It's not fair to opposing teams what they are doing. I've been doing this a while, watching the All 22 for a while, breaking down the film for a while. I've not seen a defense that plays with this pace and intensity and is all over the place. It feels like there are 14 defenders on the field. I don't know how else to put it. They're everywhere at all times, all at once, and I don't know what you do as an opposing offense.
Andy, we haven't even really gotten to the defense yet. It was just all love for Jordan and for Tucker Kraft. The defense yesterday, obviously, just picking up right where it left off against the Detroit Lions. The run defense, they're all over it. Jaden Daniels, I think he's going to be an awesome player in this league. He looked like he didn't belong in the NFL yesterday, Andy, with how that defense was approaching their Washington offense.
If they were 2-0 at this point against the Giants and the Browns, and it was those same 2 performances, I'd be like, guys, I think this team's really good. I think they're really impressive. To do it against the Lions and the Commanders, and again, long time left. We'll see where these 2 teams ultimately end up at the end of it. But Jaden Daniels is basically just torn through defenses, whether it be through the air or on the ground. And I think that's the crazy thing about Daniels is you go into a game with him, you're like, you pick your poison. Do you want to stop him on the ground, or do you want to stop him through the air? What's the one that you're going to really focus on to try to take away? And the fact that you take away the throwing aspect of Jaden Daniels, the fact that you took away the run aspect of Jaden Daniels, and you did not allow them to run the football just in general. I mean, the statistics here, again, completely just speak for themselves. From a rushing standpoint, Washington goes 19 carries for 51 yards, a 2.7 yard average. Aaron Nagler pointed out that the 97 yards that they gave up on the ground were the fewest since the 1970 merger for their first 2 games, period, for a 2-game combined. It was just a remarkable number from a run stopping standpoint. And for Micah Parsons, we got to stop the run, Micah Parsons can't be out there. He's looked good against the run. And for losing Kenny Clark, man, Colby Wooden and Devontae Wyatt's been on one these first 2 weeks. I mean, just absolutely on one. And Zach Cruz pointed out too, it's like going into the year, especially defensively, you were like, Well, I hope Micah Parsons can be as advertised, and I hope guys like Xavier McKinney can play like they did the year before, and I hope guys like Devontae Wyatt and LVN can take that step up like they need to, and I hope Edgerrin Cooper continues on his ascent, and I hope that the corners can, like, everything you were hoping for has happened so far, absolutely everything. So again, this is something that they are winning at every level. Again, 5 pass breakups by Keyshawn Nixon yesterday. I thought that was the best that I've seen him play. I believe him and Carrington Valentine were targeted 10 times for a total of 2 completions and 16 yards. So they broke up, at least Nixon broke up 5 passes. They combined allowed 2 catches for 16 yards on the day. And it's not like they had a bunch of penalties to make up for that. You just couldn't throw on them. And as you go back, I mean, if you think about this defensively, again, you couldn't run the football. We talked about that. 49, or what was it? 97 yards through the first 2 games combined, 51 yards on 19 carries yesterday. So you can't hand the ball off and just be like, all right, our run game's got to take over. That's completely shut down. It's not like, again, Jaden Daniels can just scramble around and do whatever he wants. He was completely shut down and he could not get anything going running the football. And then, all right, could you go deep? Tommy, there's 2 plays that they had that were quote unquote explosive plays. They had a 20-yarder, which was the touchdown to Zach Ertz, where Quay Walker kind of went by, and then the defender in the end zone kind of slipped down too. That was a 20-yarder. There was the play later in the game in even more garbage time to McCaffrey that went for 19 yards, where he kind of got lost a little bit. There was, again, a kind of a, Daniels a little bit more time, kind of rolled out a little bit. He got lost in the secondary and picked up 19 yards on that play. 2 explosive plays on 65 plays of offense. Per Ben Solak, 3.1% explosive play rate would have been the lowest of any team in any game last season, the lowest explosive play rate of any team. So you can't get downfield on this team. Again, we talked about what Nixon's doing on the outside. So everything's funneled into checkdowns, just like we saw last week against Detroit. And they completely now have 2 linebackers in Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker who are just flying to the football and taking care of those and holding them to like 3, 4, 5 yard gains at best. It is crazy to see what this defense is doing right now.
Yeah, include Matt LaFleur even impressed with it yesterday.
Relentless. Just physical, aggressive, attacking. The play style is exactly what we want from these guys. And it always starts with the energy and effort. That's gonna get you through and can overcome for some of the mistakes. So I just thought, I think our front is extremely disruptive, getting after the quarterback. It didn't seem like they ran the ball very effectively at all either. So, I think Half's done a hell of a job. I think our players are doing a great job feeding off one another. And it's definitely exciting to watch our defense go out there and perform, because I think they allow us to get up on somebody.
Well, and that's the good part at the end right there. Andy, they're playing with the lead where, what was it? Was it 17? They had 14-0 at a point yesterday. And then last week, I believe they were up by 10, like 17-7 at a point. If you are up by 2 scores and you are in obvious pass down situations and you have to go up against the Green Bay Packer defense for half of the game in those conditions, you're screwed, it looks like, Andy. I don't know how if the offense is going to get out to fast starts and then you have to try to be aggressive against this Packers defense, they will make you pay, because they are better than any other defense you will see at this point.
And total agreement. And the craziest thing of all this, that sound obviously, again, courtesy of the Green Bay Packers, but what's crazy about all of this is usually, all right, so you have 2 games where Green Bay won basically going away in both of them, never really in the balance. They got within 7 last night. Washington and Green Bay went down and immediately scored again. When you have 2 good teams that you play and you pretty easily win both of those games, and it never really felt like the other team even really should have been in the conversation for winning that game, the vast majority of the time, when you go back and talk about that game, you're usually talking about, well, if Detroit just has a couple of balls bounce their other way, like Detroit had this play that they could have had, or Detroit had this play could have had, Washington had this play that they could have connected on, or Washington no, it was Green Bay in both of these games that had 3 or 4 more plays that theoretically could have been made that make it even more of a crazy outcome. I mean, Tesla in the back of the end zone makes a crazy one-handed, amazing, crazy, stupid catch in the back of the end zone, like catch of the year candidate, just to get a garbage time touchdown on the board. Not to mention, Quay Walker has an opportunity at an interception. Offensively, they miss a couple deep shots down the field for Green Bay. Like that could have been way worse for Detroit. Green Bay could have won by 2 more touchdowns in that game. And for this one, it's the same exact thing. You look at the missed opportunities in this one for Green Bay's offense. You have the fourth down to Matthew Golden that gets batted away. There's the post to Dontavian Wicks. You have the touchdown to Jaden Reed that gets called back to the by the penalty by Anthony Belton. You've got the deep shot to Matthew Golden that was probably going to be like a 90-some yard touchdown if Jordan hits him in stride. You have the field goal that bounces off the upright. Obviously, I know Washington had a missed field goal as well, but 2 of them actually. But either way, like there were so much missed opportunities out there for Green Bay in both of these games that it felt like they were actually the ones that had the extra meat on the bone that they still left on there, that it could have even been more impressive than what it was. That it's really remarkable. If this offense all of a sudden starts getting just a tad bit more efficient and maybe doesn't have that lull in the middle where it kind of feels like they're playing with their food a little bit, special teams maybe doesn't have a couple of those mistakes. It's the Green Bay Packers who still felt like they had more to gain there than it was the opposing teams, despite the fact that they won both of them pretty handily.
Well, and Andy, the approach that every team has been taking has been the wrong approach. I mean, they've neutralized Josh Jacobs, but they have so much more than that on this offense, and it's probably because the next best player has to be considered Jordan Love now at that point, because he's able to get the ball to whoever it is. And we talked about it yesterday in the Green Bay football post-game show. It's going to be someone new every week, probably. While the Tucker Kraft breakout game was awesome, to be 100-yard a game type guy, I don't necessarily see that out of Tucker Kraft. But what I can see is last week, Romeo Doubs led the team in receiving. This week, Tucker Kraft led the team in receiving. Yep. I would bet next week it's someone other than those two, based on how the Green Bay Packers offense runs and has been running the last 2 weeks. Jordan Love has been doing a phenomenal job at giving the everybody eats approach full look right now. And I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon either, Andy.
If Jordan is just slightly more accurate, Matthew Golden has 2 catches for 130 yards probably in that game, right? So like there's that opportunity there too. And to your point, they're getting a lot of those players involved. Now, or at least what I always talk about is when you get through the game, win or lose, there's the game, and then there's the Thanos aspect of like, what did it cost you? And unfortunately, in this one, it did cost Green Bay something pretty significant to come away with this victory. That is the health of Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed did break his collarbone in this game, so a very devastating and disappointing loss for Jaden Reed. He's definitely dealt with some injuries, had a shoulder injury this past year, then had the foot injury that he's going through right now. The good news here is that per Matt LaFleur is that the hope and expectation is that he will be back this season at some point in time. Per Ian Rappaport it was either Rappaport or Schefter, maybe it was both, but usually these are around 6 to 8 week injuries. So it will be a significant period of time, which Matt LaFleur echoed as well. But usually players do return again in season from that type of injury if it is early enough in the year. So definitely a disappointing one. If there's a silver lining here for Green Bay, the first is that they have so much depth at wide receiver. So they still have, I mean, we saw it last night, and that doesn't even include, again, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, Josh Jacobs, etc. But at this point in time, you still have Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Matthew Golden, Savion Williams, Malik Heath. You've got McCole Hardman on the practice squad if you want to pull him up as somebody that could be that number 6 wide receiver in the meantime, if you feel like you need it, in kind of a Jaden Reed style replacement and kind of the same body type and speed and things like that. So they have that. And then the other thing, of course, is that in 2 weeks, theoretically, you are able to get Christian Watson back from the PUP list as well, which gives you another weapon on offense should you need it to help replace Jaden Reed. So definitely disappointing. And the other silver lining there potentially too is Jaden was dealing with that foot injury as well. Now, it's not to say that in the 6 to 8 weeks that everything is going to maybe perfectly heal for Jaden, but for somebody who already was dealing with a foot issue, a little bit of a shoulder issue, now he's got the collarbone issue. This 8 weeks, 2-month period of time, whatever it ends up being, may give Jaden a little bit more time to heal everything up, so that hopefully by the end of the year for your stretch run, when you really need him and you're gearing up for the playoffs, Jaden will be a little bit closer to health. But definitely a big injury there for Green Bay, Tommy.
Yeah, it is, but I'm looking at it in a different lens here, right, Andy? It's that Jaden Reed is back for divisional play. That's where I'm looking, right? November 23rd. That's the next time they have to play a divisional opponent. And Thanksgiving, it's back-to-back with Vikings-Lions again. He'll be ready for that stretch run for this Green Bay Packers team. It sucks to lose him for an extended period of time. But, I mean, Andy, this is an offense that in 2 weeks is supposed to add Marshawn Lloyd, right? And he'll be back now. And looks like they need a little something to rejuvenate the run game as opposed to what they have going on right now with Jacobs and Wilson and Brooks. But I think that this Green Bay Packers team is going to be just fine without Jaden Reed. I think it's only a benefit to have him. It was a beautiful throw to Jaden Reed as well that got him injured. Jordan Love put it on a line, it felt like, too. I would love this team to have Jaden Reed. I'm not heartbroken that they won't for 2 months.
Yeah, again, and I think it's one of those things too, where it does give Matthew Golden and Savion Williams a bit more opportunity in the offense as well. And I think hopefully they get a little bit more ingrained because of it. And now again, it just kind of sharpens and strengthens all of your weapons. And there's going to be other injuries too, and maybe there's some other injury. And by that injury, it's all right, it's time for Jaden Reed to come back, and then you kind of are able to kind of consistently swap those players out when needed. So to your point, right now they're without Christian Watson and Marshawn Lloyd. They're going to now be without Jaden Reed for these next 2 weeks. But in 2 weeks, again, you might get Lloyd and Watson back, which certainly helps, get you through that absence of Jaden Reed. No question about it. We've got so much more to get to. We've got a full another segment here. Tommy and I breaking down everything from this game. And then Ross Uglam is going to be joining us around 8:40 today. Really looking forward to that. Of course, Football Talk and the Fan is presented by Paramount Plus. You can't count on much these days, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday on CBS and Paramount Plus all season long. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. We are right now in Milwaukee, 60 degrees and foggy, high of 75, low of 60 right now. There is a dense fog advisory as well, once again, second consecutive day, so be aware of that. But this is the Pack a Day radio show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We'll be right back right after this.
That leg drive for the first.
Daniels wrapped up, going down. Rashawn Gary. And a guy who should really have a big-time season, especially with Parsons now on that defensive front.
Welcome back to the Pack-A-Day Radio Show. We are live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. That was Rashawn Gary sack, courtesy of Amazon Prime. Reminder that we've got the Mason Crosby Show coming up from 9 to 11 right here on The Fan. Also talk about a Green Bay win with Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's and Steve Sparky Pfeiffer, as they are on the road at Camp Bar in 3rd Ward this afternoon from 2 to 5:30. Brought to you by Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. Also an important PSA for our listeners, the Pack-A-Day Radio Show is also a podcast. You can find us anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite pods. Catch the full episode, listen by individual hour, or jump straight to the highlights. Just open up your favorite podcast app, search Pack-A-Day Radio Show, and hit the follow button so you can get every minute of the show your way and on your time. All right, Tommy, we've got still so much more to get into. Again, Ross Uglam coming up at 8:40 today. Excited to chat with him. There's so many different directions that we can go in. I think if we're going to look at things that can still improve for this game, I think you're still looking at the running game as the one thing that if you just like to be a little bit better, a little bit more in tune, that's the one thing. Now, it's worth noting, no Aaron Banks, no Zach Tom for this game. I thought all things considered, Jordan Morgan, and then they mostly played Anthony Belton, although Darian Kennard did get a little bit of time at right tackle as well. I thought those guys filled in admirably, especially in pass pro. Again, I thought they were not flawless. You know, you had the holding penalty on Anthony Belton that took back the penalty. There were a couple sacks on Jordan, but about as good as can be expected, missing 2 starting offensive linemen from your team. I can't stress enough that this is just another Brian Gutekunst special, because most teams do not have this sort of depth. I mean, a lot of teams don't have 5 starting offensive linemen, not to mention if you don't have 2 of your starters on the offensive line, including a left guard and including your best player on your offensive line, that really can affect you in a variety of different ways. Jordan Morgan stepped in at left guard. And I thought overall, again, Anthony Belton, Darian Kennard filled in about as admirably as possible to fill in for Zach Tom in that game. But you would still like to see Josh Jacobs get a little bit more just efficiency, I would say, overall. And this is not a Josh Jacobs thing. I think he did everything that he could to try to get the yardage that was there. But 3.7 yards per carry, you'd like to see that just ramped up a little bit. I will say this. On the day, Green Bay had 30 carries for 135 yards and a touchdown, a 4.5 yard average. So it maybe wasn't always like the smoothest thing in the world. And we saw them, kind of pull out Savion Williams in kind of like a wildcat sort of look where they faked the pitch to Jordan Love and a couple end arounds from Matthew Golden. But overall, they still were able to find ways to run the football, even if it wasn't just Josh Jacobs tearing through the defense.
Yeah, and it allows Matt LaFleur to get a little more creative, right? And that's nothing he shies away from either when he gets to have those end-around situations with Savion Williams and Matthew Golden just to get someone else the ball at a time. It worked out all right. The 2 Savion Williams runs, he stepped out of bounds on one of them, which I thought it was a really big run, and then he had the other one for the first down as well. Like, this is going to be something that will get unlocked more and more as the season progresses. You don't want to get too wild and off script and outlandish creative when you are still figuring things out, especially with 2 rookies like Matthew Golden and Savion Williams. The run game, 135 yards at the end of the day, feels like is sufficient for the Green Bay Packers on offense. It's really just Josh Jacobs has been game planned by both the Commanders and the Lions, and the Packers have found other ways to beat teams. Once teams start really focusing in on Josh Jacobs, I think that's going to unlock him too.
How do you evaluate Jordan in this one? So 19 of 31, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. He was pressured. He was when he was blitzed, I should say. He was 9 of 15, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns against the blitz, completely torched the blitz. Had a couple of those misses, right? The 2 to Matthew Golden, that could have maybe been a little bit better. Missed maybe that post to Dontavian Wicks. Also had a unbelievable throw and catch to Malik Heath, which we haven't even had the chance to talk about yet. That per next gen stats, 7.9% probability of being completed at time of throw. and it was completed. That is the third most improbable completion since 2018, again, per Next Gen Stats. But overall, again, some really good stuff. No question about it. Thought his checks at the line, getting the offense aligned the right way, obviously operating what Matt LaFleur was calling, and then just making some of those big throws as well. But a couple of misses in there as well. How are you feeling about Jordan through 2 weeks so far, and specifically in this game?
Andy, I think he's considered, top end quarterback play through 2 games this week or this year so far. I won't go as far as to say the 3 letters in a row, but I'm telling you right now that if you wouldn't take this Jordan Love every single week, the one we saw yesterday, well, you're wrong. Jordan Love does not need to play any better than he played yesterday. So from that point, you give him the A grade, right? I know he missed 2 of those throws, and you overthrow Matthew Golden. It's probably your fault, not his fault, on something when you have the 4.2 speed like that. But what we saw yesterday, Andy, was very uncharacteristic of Jordan Love, and that was that he was able to throw the football away. He sensed the pressure very well yesterday. He didn't force a lot of throws that were not there yesterday. He didn't get the ball, maybe not enough air under it a couple of times, like we mentioned already, but this is for the first time in, it feels like forever, there was not one throw where you were like, "God, what are you doing?" Right? Because there was 2 of those on back-to-back throws last week with Detroit, and he gets bailed out with the Detroit Lions getting the 2 penalties on the play on that interception return, and then the throw before, Alex Anzalone unable to bring it up. But if Jordan Love plays mistake-free football and turnover-free football week in and week out, this team could lose less than 4 games if he does that every single week, based on everyone around him on the offensive side and how elite the defense has looked. Jordan Love has done a great job getting out in front in both of these games as well, where you have, the lead for this defense so they can pin their ears back and get after it. I couldn't be happier with Jordan Love's play the last 2 weeks.
Through 2 games so far, Jordan Love is 35 of 53, 66% completion percentage, 480 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 120.0 quarterback rating. Tough to be too upset about those numbers. And yes, a couple plays that he'd like to maybe have back last week, a couple plays that he'd like to maybe complete in this past game. I think that's the scary part. I think that in totality is still the biggest scary part for this team, is that it was that dominant through 2 games so far against 2 good football teams. And it still feels like there is so much more out there for Green Bay, which I think is what's terrifying for, it has to be for the rest of the NFL, of they're playing that well and they still have so much further to go. And I just think that the big thing for me with where Green Bay is at right now is that this feels like a team that can now win in a variety of different ways. I guarantee you at some point, Josh Jacobs is going to get going to a much larger extent that he's got going in his first 2 weeks so far. And again, I don't think that's a Jacobs thing. I think that's a run blocking thing, but they're going to get him going in a much more significant way. That in and of itself, we saw last year in those games, especially when Jordan was out, they had to run the ball a little bit more. There were times where Josh Jacobs was just able to say, "Hey, give me the ball, feed me, and I will take you home in this one." And at some point this year, just the run game in and of itself will be able to win Green Bay football games. There will be times where Jordan Love has games, and we've seen it in the past. It's not out there that he is connecting on all those deep ball throws, and the pass offense just looks unstoppable, and nobody's able to stick with all their different wide receivers and tight ends and weapon combinations. And Green Bay's offense just goes out there. And again, both of these games, they could have put up 40 points if just a couple different plays go their way. And there's going to be times this year where we see the offense do exactly that, specifically the passing offense, just carve through teams. And now they have a defense that, to me, again, we went through the defense in pretty great length already. But what really also stands out to me in this one is that there was no need to get a turnover to be as dominant as they were on defense. You want the turnover, don't get me wrong. And I think there are going to be games, and we saw it last year, where this Jeff Hafley defense can live by hey, our defense is just having some struggles, maybe getting some stops in this one, but we can get 2-3 turnovers in a game. And they've shown that in the past. And I think there will be games this year again, where maybe the defense is allowing some yardage, but they're getting those big turnovers. They can win that way. And then the big thing for me is when the game was in the balance in this one, 49 plays, 150 yards is where Washington was at through 49 plays when the game was truly in the balance, not getting into the garbage time stats or things like that. 49 plays, 150 yards for Washington's offense, 10 points, and they did it with 0 turnovers. They just said, we are better than you. We are going to stop everything that you're trying to do. And that's the way that we're going to stop it. So they can now win in so many different ways throughout the course of the season. And you have to be able to have different outs when you go into the playoffs and you face a variety of different teams. You don't know what game is going to be played. Every sort of game has its own unique sort of style and, just the way that game goes about being played. And you don't know what type of fight you're going to get into. And now I feel like Green Bay, with the addition of Micah Parsons and what they've been able to build this roster into, is it does not matter the style of fight that you want to get into with Green Bay. They can hang with you and have the ability to beat you regardless of who you are or what type of game it is.
Well, and Andy, I think that the pass rush has been phenomenal and otherworldly for sure, but I also think the corners are a lot better than we thought they were going to be. Keyshawn Nixon, game of a lifetime, it felt like yesterday. And another guy who didn't get a whole lot of national love like Keyshawn did during the game, but I thought was phenomenal whenever his number was called upon, Javon Bullard. Javon Bullard in the fantastic nickel yesterday. They couldn't do any wide receiver screen. He was all over it every single time. He is another guy who's chasing every single play. That was one of the best Javon Bullard games, I thought, as well, Andy.
Javon Bullard was a Javon Bullet. Also, I don't know if you saw my tweet. There's no Nixon Island. We're going with the Keyshawn Keys, Tommy. That's the Keyshawn Keys. So we're going with that on the outside. Good luck throwing on the Keyshawn Keys because you are out on an island, a group of islands all on your own. Keyshawn's got it locked down. Again, everyone was everywhere yesterday. And I was watching this in week 1, and I was trying to keep an eye on it from week 2. The thing that's so insane about this defense, and again, we talked about earlier, it feels like there's like 14 defenders out there, but we've established that teams have not been able to just run the ball with any level of ease up front. So you're getting in a lot of these third down situations or more obvious passing situations. It helps, of course, that Green Bay is able to go out there and get the lead as well and put a little bit more pressure on these teams to have to go out and throw the football. So you're not running the football. You're getting into more of these passing situations. But what Jeff Hafley is doing right now from a disguise standpoint. So as a quarterback, even like Jaden Daniels is so good at this stuff, being able to pick up on what teams are doing. And Jared Goff, same thing. Like this is a veteran quarterback in week 1. When you get to the line, it's not like, so you have your play call, right? And it's not old school of like, all right, we're going to go through our progression. We're going to call our play and we've got like a 3-man progression. We're going to go bip, bip, bip. No, what you're doing is you're getting up to the line and you're reading, is this zone, is this man? Are we in cover 2? Are we in cover 3 or cover 4? You're trying to gather as much intel pre-snap so that when you get the ball, you know exactly what to do. So if it is a zone defense, you might have, you might go left to right, 1, 2, 3. And if it's man, you might go right to left, 1, 2, 3. But you're trying to make that diagnosis. And what Green Bay is doing right now is making it near impossible, if not impossible, to get any sort of read pre-snap on if it's zone, if it's man, if it's cover 2, 3, 4, something completely exotic. If they're bringing 4, if they're bringing 7, you just don't know. And it's almost impossible to tell pre-snap. And here's the crazier thing. It is also nearly impossible to read as the play is starting. Like it takes you a solid second and a half, 2 seconds to diagnose what Green Bay's doing because there is so much change in the picture where corners are going to safety, safeties are going to corners, linebackers are spraying out wide or staying in the middle. Guys that you didn't think are blitzing are now blitzing. Guys that you thought were blitzing are now dropping into coverage, and you have no real picture of what's going on. And it's taking that second and a half for the quarterback to view what's going on. And now when you have Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary and LVN and Devontae Wyatt and that group of players together, not to mention some of the other guys who are also showing the ability to get some pressure. Heck, Barron Sorrell got in for a few snaps, had a pressure and like what looked like a half sack. I don't know if he got credit for it or not, but he was even getting in on the action. When you've got that cooking up front, and as a quarterback, you can't get a read pre-snap, and it's taking you that second and a half post-snap, and we already established that you can't run the ball, it is just a nightmare. And maybe at some point, some teams start picking up a few more tells as there's more and more tape on Green Bay. We'll have to wait and see. But for right now, quarterbacks cannot get any beat whatsoever on what Green Bay's doing. And it's providing that extra tick for that pressure to get home. And now you've got the pass rush studs up front to be able to get there with immediacy. I don't know what you do. I legitimately do not know what you do. And that's why it feels like there's 14 guys running around out there for Green Bay.
Well, and Andy, another thing that the Packers have just done a phenomenal job on is limiting checkdowns the last 2 weeks too, right? We talked about it last week with Jahmyr Gibbs, where he had the 10 catches for 37 yards. And yesterday, obviously, Eckler goes down, and it sounds like his season's over. He has 2 catches for 7 yards. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, 0 catches, no yards yesterday. When you take away that safety net for the quarterback and they are having to look down the field, they had a little bit of that opportunity with Deebo Samuel, whether he was lining up behind or on the outside, but they don't have the safety net either. So forcing them to make the bigger play on a young quarterback, especially like Jaden Daniels, it didn't go well for him yesterday, and it doesn't usually go well for young guys in the league either if they don't have that type of reliability from the running back check down.
True story. And again, even when they are checking it down, Edgerrin Cooper, Quay Walker, just
They're
all over it.
over
And
it.
again, that's what the 3 levels, right? You can't get deep on these safeties. The corners are, batting around passes on the boundaries. You can't get a read on what the defense is doing. You can't run the football. And when you check it down, Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper are there in a second and holds it to a 2 or 3 yard gain. It feels again like there's no opportunity for the offense to do anything. And it has been a long time since we have seen a Packers defense that has the ability to fly around and play with the intensity, physicality, speed, and tenacity that this defense has been playing with. We've got so much more to get into. Ross Uglam is going to be joining us coming up here in just a moment. We'll get to our Potawatomi Sportsbook final thought of the day as well. And we are going to be having a little bit of a crossover in our first segment of the Mason Crosby Show, as I'll be joining the Mason Crosby Show for the first 20 minutes over there as well. So you've got a lot more coming up. And then, of course, 2 hours of the Mason Crosby Show in totality. So do not go anywhere. We've got a lot more coming up for you right after this. To the Pack-A-Day Radio Show. It is a Victory Friday. We are certainly in a celebratory mood. And a reminder that the Mason Crosby Show is coming up with Mitch Thunder Nellis from 9 to 11 here on The Fan. Right now, though, we are being joined by Ross Uglam, PackerReport.com, Pack-A-Day Podcast. You can find him on social media at Ross Uglam. He is joining us on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. Ross, my friend, how the heck are you doing on this beautiful Victory Friday?
I'm well. It's not often that you get 2 wins in 5 days. And they kind of need the mini bye. So it's hard to feel better about what's going on, especially, they just kind of whooped the number 1 seed from last year in the NFC and an NFC finalist. It's not like this was, New Orleans and Jacksonville. This was a statement that was made.
A big time statement against, like you said, 2 very good teams. We'll see how both of these teams perform through the rest of the season. But going into this, I mean, there was a real feel of like, hey, can you just go 1-1 through these 2 games and then pick up wins against Cleveland and Dallas, go 3-1 by the bye, and then, kind of take it from there. Getting these 2 wins feels massively impressive, especially in the way in which they did so. Let's start on the defensive side, Ross. This is a defense that is as good or better than any defense in Green Bay through 2 games. I'll put the asterisk on there, through 2 games that I can remember seeing a defense play. What has stood out to you about how this defense is going about accomplishing this and why they are as good as they have been so far?
It's up front. It's up front. And people know I've been hard on the corners in the past but they're when Micah Parsons got there and he said basically he was going to make the corners some money. You're seeing that. And that's not to take away from Keyshawn Nixon's performance last night, which was excellent or anything like that. But I mean, there's no such thing as covering for 4 or 5 seconds anymore. It's not a thing. So they're able to sit on routes. They're able to not get where, Xavier McKinney has to be the most bored guy in the world right now because there just isn't anything for him to do. Right now, they're defending about a 13-yard field, which is crazy. But it is absolutely what's going on.
No, for sure. Yesterday, again, the longest play was 20 yards on that Zach Ertz play where it was mostly after the catch, after Quay just overextended just a little bit on that play. Then there was the McCaffrey one that he got open for 19, where the defense just kind of lost track of him a little bit on a play that kind of Jaden Daniels was able to get out and kind of buy a little bit of time. And outside of that, everything was short and intermediate. And then you had in the run game, the longest rush was 8 yards. So yeah, to your point, you don't need to see a ton of Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams right now. They're doing their job on the back end to make sure that there's nothing available over the top, but the ball doesn't even get to that area of the field. It's just immediately a check down or a short rush. The defensive line's taking care of business, and then Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper just immediately cleaning things up on the second level. It's a rare scene where actually Evan Williams or Xavier McKinney actually even have to do anything.
Absolutely. The only time that you kind of see it is when they're rolled down into slot defender or even sometimes a pressure. I think, one of the 3rd down conversions happened on McKinney when he was rolled down. I'm not complaining. They played unbelievably, but that's the only time they get involved is they get rolled down into a slot area and Hafley calls something in single high. It's like, oh, I get to do something, or they get sent on a blitz. That's basically it. Any of their shell coverage, they're mostly desperation balls that get thrown down the field.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, it makes it extremely easy. Ross, let's rewind to the moment that you found out that Micah Parsons was being traded to the Green Bay Packers. We know the player that Micah Parsons is. We know the impact that he can make. I'm even struggling to like what he's been able to bring so far in just 2 games in somewhat of a limited snap count is even far beyond what my wildest imagination was going through when they first acquired him. His impact through 2 games, it can't be understated. 8 pressures in this game, a half a sack, which would have been a full sack had he not been, held on the play. He basically teleports on a move inside, going from one spot to another. It's really remarkable at the talent that he is.
Yeah, I had, I think you and I were both hearing a lot of the same things, and you had kind of conditioned yourself where it's like, no matter who I hear this from, unless his first name is Brian, I'm gonna just not get myself too excited because of how many times they've come in second or like the Hendrickson deal that didn't happen, and thank goodness it didn't. But you like I had heard from 2 or 3 different ways that this was probably happening, but you still kind of tell yourself, I don't know. And then at 2:50, I thought I'd be a smart aleck, and I tweeted, I'm raising the Micah Parsons alert to orange. And then I just didn't shut my phone off, but I had stuff to do because I'm coaching college golf this fall, and we had a 4:30 practice, and I get up to the course where we're going to do our short game practice. And at 4 o'clock, when the tweet goes out, my phone just goes bananas. Jacob Morley actually then puts me on a 3-way call with Jacob Westendorf, and everybody just was losing their mind. My players are staring at me like, what in the world is happening? It was quite the scene. And then I had to go to work like 8 minutes after all of that happened because we had practice. So that was, and then of course I stormed home to do the reaction pod for Pack-A-Day. So that was, that was quite the afternoon.
Yeah, very much so. And again, his impact in these first 2 games cannot be overstated. He has been as advertised and so much more. I love the thank you, Jerry chants that he's, bopping around to after the game at the Amazon Prime desk. It could not have been anything better than what we've experienced through these first 2 weeks so far, and what impact that he's had on this team, not only on the field, but just getting this team a little bit more energy and buzz and excitement and everything that it just feels like it needed to get over the hump. It was the right player for the right reasons at the right time. Offensively, Ross, what did you see in this one? There was a little bit of lull, maybe a couple connections that were missed. It felt like maybe it's still just a hair off, but it's still early in the season, and it feels like there's so much more meat on the bone still for this offense.
For sure. They're missing a little bit on the, and this is not a bashing Matt LaFleur thing. I mean, they're missing a little bit of the killer instinct, as they have been for LaFleur's entire career. I mean, he just wants to win, and that's what you want your coach to do. But the math tells him, like, okay, we're up 2 scores, it's time to run the ball, and then he starts doing it. And right now, Josh Jacobs just got 3.7 yards a carry last night, and not all of that is on Jacobs, but they're not ready to run block right now. Jordan Morgan had just about a clean sheet pass blocking last night. He looked completely lost trying to run block. There were multiple run plays where I noticed him looking back at the running back at the end of the play. That is not how you want your left guard to finish. Belton's not ready. I mean, they're very functional still somehow as a pass pro unit, and just cannot create holes for Josh Jacobs. Now, some of that, I think, like, I had the opportunity to watch the game on Prime Vision. There's a lot of single high stuff. Teams are really scared of Josh Jacobs and what Green Bay can do if they just have to run the ball. I couldn't believe how both, frankly, Detroit and Washington said, okay, Jordan, beat us. It's like, guys, he's not hurt. He will. He will beat you. And the only, obviously, criticism is Green Bay could have had 34. I mean, they could have just dusted Washington last night if they would have kept throwing the ball. Definitely with Reed missing, though, and Golden doesn't seem like it's quite there yet. Not that it's not coming. I mean, he would have had a touchdown and maybe a really, really long play. So it's not all on him. But you love to see what you've seen from Wicks, man. The Dontavian Wicks of it all is happening. And you can just tell, I mean, you're a WWE guy. Christian Watson is just sitting in his elimination chamber pod, ready to like rock the crowd. And I can't wait to when his number is called.
I'm right there with you. I think he's going to add a whole different dynamic. I love the deal that they were able to get done with Christian, and, him and Marshawn Lloyd hopefully coming back sooner rather than later once they're able to come off of that PUP list. I think both of them could be impact players for Green Bay. We'll see how they kind of navigate this Jaden Reed injury coming up, but those 2 players coming back hopefully sooner rather than later can certainly help. And I think they have the depth at wide receiver, and I think you're only going to see more of Savion Williams and Matthew Golden get even more ingrained. And I'm so glad that you brought up Dontavian Wicks, because he has looked really good through 2 weeks, catching everything his way. They even put him on the hands team, Ross. They even put him on the hands team. It's definitely a choice, but it paid off. He came up with a big onside kick recovery as well. We got to get out of here in just a moment, but I'll let you have any final thoughts that you want before you get out of here. And then, of course, plug anything that you want on the way out as well.
Absolutely no. I'm just tremendously impressed with Goody and Matt. And, it's exciting because it's not perfect. It's exciting because there's meat left on the bone. Losing Reed sucks, but I'm actually really excited, honestly, from a schematic standpoint. One of the things that really gets me going is the idea that you could have a Matthew Golden, Christian Watson rotation in the slot. Two guys that bring completely different things to the table, but are horrific matchups for inside defenders. And then you can just have Dobbs and Wicks rock and roll outside, sprinkle in a little bit of Malik Keith and whatever that was last night. They're still going to be fine in the wide receiver room for sure, especially after 9 gets back. As far as plugging stuff, check us out over at PackerReport.com. Great discounts right now on VIP memberships. And as always, check me out on Packer Report TV and the Pack-A-Day Podcast YouTube channel.
You do tremendous work, my friend. Looking forward to you digging into everything this week. I'm going to not keep you any longer because I know you want to go dig into the tape, so I'll let you get to that. We will definitely do this again soon. And again, I appreciate all the work you do, my friend.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you.
You bet. Enjoy the Victory Friday. Again, that is Ross Uglam joining us on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Make sure, again, to follow him on social media at Ross Uglam. Before we get out here, let's get our Potawatomi Sportsbook final thought of the day.
You got to do some smart thinking.
It's time for Andy Herman's final thought of the day.
What are you thinking?
Powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
What the hell were you thinking?
You're listening to the Pack-A-Day Radio Show on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan.
All right, I've got a fun one here. Rainbow Trout in social media at 8:25 a.m. comes in and says, "Love is mid and will always be mid. Will make good throws and bad throws. Still can't hit the deep throw." And then 13 minutes later says, "This is just nonstop brown nosing." Rainbow Trout, if you are a Vikings fan, Bears fan, or just resident troll, bravo, my friend. Well done. If you are in fact a Packers fan, you have totally lost the farm and the plot altogether. If you are in a bad mood following a 2-0 start to the season against Washington and Detroit, when Jordan Love has a 120 passer rating through 2 games, if you are miserable at this point in the season, you're done, you're out, your fan card is taken away, go somewhere else, go follow Ike Packers and enjoy the rest of your day, my friend. That's going to do it for me. We are out of here, Tommy. We've got the Mason Crosby Show coming up next, 9 to 11 on The Fan. Huge thank you to Tommy, who brings the A-game stuff every single week and is the exact opposite of Rainbow Trout, which is what I appreciate about him the most. We've got a lot more coming up here on the Mason Crosby Show. I'll be joining for that first segment. You can find the Pack-A-Day Podcast 365 days a year, wherever you get your favorite podcast. We are Packers Browns all week next week. It should be a fun one to get ready for. This has been the Pack-A-Day Radio Show. Enjoy your Victory Friday. And of course, go Pack Go.